Hi, everybody. Welcome along to episode 39 of Percussion Discussion. Hope you're all well and keeping safe out there. Before we get onto the interview, just to let you know, we do have all our social media. If you want to check any out, we have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. If you would be kind enough to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be great. And this will ensure that you don't miss any of our previous interviews or any of the great interviews that we've got coming up. And the great news is you can listen on the go now. Our interviews are available as podcast form as well, or in podcast form, I should say. And you'll be able to find those on Apple Music and Spotify. There's not all up there yet, but there's kind of more being added every month. So if that's your thing, get on it. On to today's guest, a gentleman I've been trying to get for some time. He's had an incredible career so far. On the heavier side of things, started off life as Charlie Benante from Anthrax's drum tech. And he's worked his way through playing for bands such as Exodus, Testamant, Rob Zombie. And for the last 15 years, he's been the driving force behind the Cult. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of the nicest guys in the business, Mr. John Tempesta.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, that's the pleasure is all mine. So we're in a bit of an odd time at the moment with this, worldwide pandemic. It's a tough time for musicians, anyone in the arts. Are you managing to keep busy at the moment?
I have, actually. I've been very fortunate. Right before the lockdown happened last year, I just finished a record with the band I'm in, my other band called Motor Sister. That's with Jim Wilson, Scott Ian, his wife Perla Day, and Joey Vera. Great band. And we recorded at Dave Grohl's studio at 606. And a friend of mine, she gave me a warning because her friend works at the governor's office in California and saying they're going to do a lockdown. So I texted everyone, they're going to do a lockdown. They're going to do a lockdown. So it was 5 days later, and they actually did it. But we were able to finish the tracks, which is great. Now we were able to come back and then do overdubs. And now presently mixing with Jay Rustin, and it's sounding great. So I'm really happy with that.
Fantastic. Is this going to go on the road, or is this just like a
Possibly? I would think so. You know what I mean? Like, we have time, and Scott, he's going to be writing with Anthrax a new record, and Jim he plays with Daniel Lanois, and Pearl has her thing. Joey has Fate's Warning, Armored Saint. Have the new record out. So whenever we have an opportunity to do something together, even if it's just local shows, it's just a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll be able to do more, and you never know.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Now, you've got an incredible, you look back at your CV and it's just, it's phenomenal. It really is,
Oh, thank you.
And well, hey, it's there for everyone to see. But do you mind if we go back to kind of the beginning for you? Sort of, I don't know what age you were when you took up drums. Where did it all begin? What's your first memory of music, if you like?
7 years old, I was with my mom watching Hard Day's Night on TV, and I seen Ringo, and that was it, honestly. And then I just had a love of drums, just the physical look of drums, and I just loved everything about it. And I remember being a kid, and there was only a really crappy photo in the dictionary, and then I was like, wow, that's just a sketch of black and white. But then I would go to the public library, and there was a magazine called Downbeat magazine. This is like the first, like jazz drummer magazine before Modern Drummer or anything like that. And they had ads of drums, and I would actually tear out the ad, right, and send it to the drum company, whether it was Pearl or Tom or Ludwig, Slingerland, every company. And so, would you please send me a catalog? I was like 11 years old, and I got all the catalogs, and I still have them. And so from there, I just loved everything about, like I said, this just the mechanics of it, and the tuning, and oh man, the finishes and all that. And so at 12 years old, I was about 12, my next door neighbor Charlie Casaluccio, he had a kit. It was a Blue Sparkles, an entry line Chinese kit, Stewart drums possibly, and he was selling the kit. He was upgrading to a Gold Sparkle kit. Right. So he had asked my mom, yeah, I'll sell this kit to Johnny for $25. And I begged my mom, please, baby, because she would buy me all the the cheap drums for Christmas time, with the paper heads.
Yeah.
And they'd be bashed out within an hour. I went through the wooden spoons, all that stuff. And so I begged her, and we got the kit, and it was right next door. We took it right over the porch, the patio. I set them up in the basement. And I remember just cleaning them and putting jewelry around them. And it was a Sunday, and I just started playing the records like Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and whatever it was. And that was it. I was in. And then later, Charlie, the same drummer who sold me the drum kit, he had tickets for David Bowie at Madison Square Garden. I have an extra ticket. Can I bring Johnny? Asked my mom. And it was 1977 at Station to Station tour, the live stage tour. And so I went down, and it changed my life. Like I have to play Madison Square Garden, my hometown, and I seen Dennis Davis. Many years later, we became friends. It's so ironic how everything happens. But that was it for me, man. And I was just like right then and there, like after high school, had bands, and the college thing wasn't. I just wanted to go on the road and play. So that was it.
So was it always the rock thing for you, the heavy rock kind of thing?
No. Actually, it had changed. There was a time in my life where I studied with John Spina, good friend of mine who's like my mentor, and I started getting into fusion, like jazz, like Steve Gadd and Cobham, Lenny White, all those cats, man. He would take me to see Steve Gadd when I was 15 years old, underage. So I seen a lot of great stuff. I seen, man, God. Jaco Pastorius Weather Report with Peter Erskine. I mean, I've seen so many great shows. So I was into that, but my heart and soul is definitely rock, and I stay with it, but I still like playing that. And then Simon Phillips and Bozio just changed my life and a whole other thing.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, the first time I ever saw you live was on a drum clinic in Sheffield in the UK, and Terry Bozio was the headline act.
Oh.
Thomas Lang was on it, and
that's where I met Thomas, a good friend of mine now. Yes,
Chris Penny,
great friend, and Terry.
Yeah, it was a great show because I remember Thomas had a nightmare. He was playing with Roland stuff, and it didn't go well for him at all.
yeah, I know. I remember that because I have a photo with Terry in the dressing room, and I know Terry for years, and I'm friends with his son, and like Bozio's everything to me. I've seen him like at first First time I seen Terry was with UK, opened up for Jethro Tull in 1979.
Okay.
And I went by myself. None of my friends, they didn't want to go to the concert. So I begged my mother, I was like, could you give me like $40? And she had her card parties on a Tuesday. So it was like, so she gave me $40. I took the train down to Madison Square Garden. I was the first person online. I ran into Madison Square Garden to look at Barry Marballo's giant blue Vistalite kit. It wasn't covered. But then I seen Terry's Rototom kit set up. Like, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah,
man. And when they went on stage, it changed my life. That was it. And I'm so glad I went by myself too, to be honest with you.
Do you know what?
I wasn't distracted.
I have a thing about going to gigs on my own, and nobody's. Oh, what about this? And I like.
Shut up. Let me get into it.
Yeah, you paid your money. Let's watch it.
Right?
I'm glad you agree with that. But that was a great clinic, and I always remember I sneaked in for the sound checks, and I remember you and Thomas chatting, and I remember Thomas playing on your kit as well because he was on electronics. He went, "Can I play it?" It's just like,
it's so funny because Thomas and I were texting just 2 days ago.
Right.
Because he has this amazing concert tom kit. So my next kit, I want a big concert tom kit. It's like, I'm telling my specs and we're going back and forth. We're sending photos of like concert tom kits. Like I'm sending Peter Criss photos, like all this Phil Collins, all the greats who had concert tom kits. And it's like, we should get together and do like a video and stuff. So maybe in the works.
Isn't it funny how the concert tom thing all of a sudden is hot again? It's back. It's
well, I've always been into it. Like when I would order my drums, I would always order like an 8, 10, 12 concert tom, just to have. And Tim from Primus borrowed my toms, and I used them on the Love Tour, the Cult Love Tour. I had the 8 and 10 on the side there, and I was sending photos of Thomas, like my chrome kit with the black lacquer inside. So we were just like little kids getting into it. It's so much fun. I just love the look, and we both do. We have the same passion for concert toms and the look of it. They look menacing,
Yeah, I mean, I'm like the Octoplus kind of thing. It was just a great looking.
Right. Well, my new kit's going to be similar to that.
Yeah.
big. Yeah, but power toms.
Of course.
You know, imagine well, Eric Carr with the concert, double bass, or Nigel Glocker Saxon when he had that big black Ludwig kit. You know,
remember it well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the guys I interviewed a couple of weeks ago was Nick Collins, of course, who's doing the Genesis thing, and they're sticking with the concert toms.
I love that. I love that. His dad's is it his dad's kit or his own kit?
It's I think it's modeled on his dad's kit, but I think it's the same specs. Obviously,
you have to have that sound. You can't change it, man. No. If you're gonna play those songs, come on, it's not gonna sound the same.
It's got to be there. So no, you know. So I love you still get excited by drums, don't you?
I do. It's always been my passion as a kid, and this was instilled for me from my dad. Rest his soul. He was an airline mechanic and he was a pilot, and he just every time we go, he just look at airplanes and and just had the passion of it,
Sure.
And anytime I look, I'm a drum fanatic, man. I get into it,
That's good. I mean, I think that's a drummer thing generally. I don't think this happens with other musicians does to a certain extent, but drums is gets in the blood, doesn't it? And
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. So look, you're getting through high school, and I guess you're gigging about in your own bands and what have you at this point.
I am. I had a band in high school, Jackals. We were called Jackals. We were pretty heavy. We did back in the day, you would play clubs and play mostly cover songs and a few originals. And for instance, there was one time a friend of ours knew Steve Harris from Iron Maiden. He was in town. And he goes, he wanted to see a club band. He brought him out for our show in Yonkers, New York. And we played like Halloween I Name and stuff like that. And Steve Harris is at the gig. The funny part was the old guy Mo and his brother was like, oh, I'll book you on a Wednesday or whatever. He had no idea who he was. So it was just fascinating, and from there, like we just played the club circuit until our singer left, Tony Harnell. He went to the band TNT.
Oh, yeah.
We were left playing like, and it just the opportunity came with Charlie was like Bernante. He was like, hey, why don't you come on tour with me? You love drums and we're like high school friends. And like, really? Oh, really? I thought he was joking. And like, this is amazing. So I went on tour with him for 2 weeks in Europe. We did the makeup dates with Metallica, Master of Puppets. Jason Newsted had just gotten the band.
Would this have been among the Living era then?
Yes.
Because it was
right before the album came out. They did songs from Among the Living.
Cool.
So it was still at the end. And then, So basically what happened was like 2 weeks in Europe. I'm hanging out with my friends. I leave my parents' house. I'm getting paid seeing the world. And then a month later, we're going to Japan and, Among the Living came out. It just blew up and I did the whole tour with them. And in Europe, about 10 weeks in Europe at that time.
Yeah.
We did
would that have been around about, would that have been 86, 87? Yeah, 87. Yeah. I remember buying that album. It was the first Anthrax album I ever bought. And in fact, did you do the UK tour as well, John?
That's what I'm saying. It was 10 weeks, like the whole Europe.
Because
they did, it was Hammersmith Odeon. It's the video and a video, and it's 2 shows sold out. Live in Color opened up for them.
Oh wow, what a great opening band as well.
And then, you know what pisses me off till this day, and people are like, why is there one pinstripe head on the tom, right? Because I ran out of stock of drum heads. I couldn't get clear Emperors, Remo. And they only saw, like, I need a new head because I can't have them break a head. Like either that or an Ambassador. So there's only a pinstripe available. So that's why if you see in the video, there's that pinstripe. But it sounded good though. That's all that matters, man. So it's just those little things that drives me crazy,
Well, it's the drummer thing again, isn't it? Did you enjoy the teching thing? I can imagine.
I loved it. Are you kidding me? I had the best time. And because of teching, I was able to, that's where I got my gigs. Exodus opened up for Anthrax. The drummer they see me sound check as well as Testamant. Seeing I'm just playing Charlie's kit, wailing like, wow, he's pretty good, right? And so Exodus, Tom Huntington do the next tour, and they had asked me, and I'm like, well, I don't play this style of music. I'm like hard rock. I'm like, Cozy Powell Bonham, like metal, but not thrash, especially the way Tom Huntington plays. But I gave it a lot of thought. I talked to Charlie and goes, you should do it, man. And, I practiced a lot, airplaying a lot on days off and whatnot. And I just, it was a challenge to me. And I just gave it a go and I got the gig,
Hey, that's the way it is. So you weren't listening to the heavier end of stuff at that point, then? You must have. I guess you were into Anthrax and
well, of course. Well, Anthrax, Metallica, Massive Puppet, Slayer just came out with Angel of Death, and Rain and Blood. We were all into it. Yeah, and so it was new to me. It's funny, like Anthrax did a gig when New Year's Eve in New York, Mount Vernon, close to where I grew up in the Bronx. It was a New Year's Eve gift at the Left Bank. And Anthrax and Metallica. I'm like, what's this big deal about Metallica? I keep hearing about this band. It was like their first record. And I thought, Anthrax were just like polished and great. And like, wow, this is something here, man. And it's incredible how both bands have just grown like from that era and still like the big four and still going. It's incredible, man.
It is. And I'm sure at the time, if you'd have asked them how much longevity has this got, they'd have been like, well,
nobody knew.
And it's just
Johnny Z. It goes back in the day, like from Anvil to Raven and all those bands singing all that stuff,
and it's still growing. But so you've slotted straight in with the thrash thing, the heavy thing, because it was totally different to the stuff you're listening to.
Yeah. But it was challenging, like especially Exodus, man. Those guys could write some serious guitar riffs, and you have to play on top of it. It was new. It was my first record, and I'm very proud of it. And then I did another record and toured it. But Testament, when I went to Testament, it felt more of my groove, like the style of it. Not that it was easier, but it was just more. It wasn't so. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was more in the pocket.
Yeah, it was.
I felt more comfortable with that.
Totally, it's more of a, and I don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but it was more of a groove to the whole thing. More, I don't know what the word is, but just a great band. I've always been a Testament fan anyway, so I suppose that helps matters.
I love both bands. Yeah. I love all the bands I've been in, and you know what? I've been very fortunate. And that's a big thing too. Any gig you get, man. You want to be a cool dude. You want to be a team player.
Sure.
Never hard. I never had any like disjudgment or anything like that. I'm still friends with every band I've been in. So when I see Exodus or Testament or even Zombie play them, I'm excited to see my friends, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a big thing because we love what we do. So.
Of course. There's one of my favorite Testament albums is Low. I just love the production, everything.
Yeah.
It's just
the drums could have been louder, man.
Do you think? I thought the overall sound was.
No, honestly, I listen to Low every once in a while. I'm like, wow, it's a fucking heavy record, man. The way we did it, and we did it with Garth Richardson and Bill Kennedy, rest in peace. And those guys are maniacs because they're Canadians, and they went above the level, like where Bob Rock and with the Motley Crue did Dr. Feelgood with like all the microphones. We went above that. We put 45 microphones on my drum kit as a CEOs, like top and bottom, every tom, every cymbal. There was about 6 each in each bass drum, room mics, the Hitler mic. It's like, it was just ridiculous, But it's, and then there was a PA in the room. Garth liked recording with a PA. It was great for me, like the kickback. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that song Low, there was no click track back then for me. And I remember recording that song. I'm like, and those guys were kind of pissed. I was like, you know what? Everybody leave the room. Let me play this. And I just did it on my own. No click track or nothing. I just went, so I played the whole song through. Just listen to it.
That's tight.
No click.
Well, I have to say, Legions is one of my favorite tracks.
Oh, I like that one.
Some good stuff,
And that song Ride came at the end. It's like, got to get that. That's a fun one.
Yeah.
My little Bozio thing.
Yes, absolutely. It's just a great album. And the production.
I just kind of wish, like, you look at it, and I talked to Chuck and Eric quite a bit, here and there. I was like, we should really kind of see if we could get the masters to remaster or to pump it up a bit. But honestly, because it was Atlantic Records, it's hard to get a hold of it.
Oh.
It would be nice one day to get that in our hands so we could do what we want. You know what I mean?
Still a great album, though, all the same.
Thank you. I'm very proud of that record. We worked our asses off on that record, man.
Yeah. It does sound totally different to any other Testament album, I think, personally. That's production-wise.
Well, it went from the Ritual to that one. It was a big change. And Chuck started singing death metal vocals, and there's some fast shit like Dogface Gods. Like, whoa, we took it out of the box. And Eric and I, we did most of it together.
Well, I tell you what, it worked, obviously. And then I guess was it White Zombie after? Yeah.
It was actually at the time, and when I got the call, like I auditioned for Zombie, I just felt. Listen, I love the test. I love the guys. I love the record. I just needed. Needed to change. You know what I mean? Not for musically. I just felt like this was the step I needed to take to get to that point where we all want to be, right?
Yeah. So were you in LA at this point? Because you're
and that was a reason. That was a big reason for Zombie, because they were in LA, and I would go back and forth to the Bay Area with Testament. And driving back and forth, and I got the call from those guys, and their studio was like, honestly, like 5 minutes from my house at my apartment at the time. Like, well, this is convenient, and they were just great, and they had the new record going on, Astro Creep, and like, I seen them open up for Anthrax before, and like, this band's cool. They have something different. That drummer, they just needed a drummer with a lot of power, like a kick in the ass, and man. And honestly, I felt that, and you know what? It was perfect timing, and that's all it was.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, some great songs on that one. There's almost goes into hip hop at times, doesn't it? Groove wise, in that it's like a real. It's just there's everything in there for a drummer that you could ever want.
Well, Charlie Clouser had as a band, we wrote it together in the studio, just very raw, just like had an 8-track or whatever it was, just recording stuff. But then Charlie Clouser from Nine Inch Nails came in, to do all the programming.
Yeah, sure.
And we're putting a click track. Oh shit, I got to play with a click track. But what it did was it enhanced me playing that record. Like, so it was like, so I'm playing on top of it in the studio, and it was so much fun. Yeah. And it was like, it just gave me an extra element, man. And he made that he honestly had a lot to do with making that record drive a lot.
I think it's the track Real Solution. Just love that. It's such a cool song.
And let me tell you something about that record. Not on that record, as far as drums in particular, Jeff Chonas from Drum Paradise at the time, who's Ringo Starr's drum tech.
Right.
He owned Drum Paradise, and he brought in his bell brass snare drum, right? That's the reason I get But on that record, and he brought in Simon Phillips's white Art Star bass drums. I recorded that 24, the white ones he has, and prototype Star Classic toms with Grand Star lugs before they even came out, because I just signed with Tama, and the drums in there sound massive. They're just punchy as hell, right?
That's incredible. Did you have the towels on the bass, the rolled up towels on the bass drum head, or did you? Can you remember?
I think I did, because I've been in Simon since I was a teenager.
No tins of paint in there though, because that was the thing for a while, wasn't it? Tins of paint in there, I believe, in the bass drums.
Yeah, and I do like, to be honest with you, my next kit, I kind of want to do lacquer on the inside.
Yeah.
Which I have done with drum kits before. So.
Cool stuff. But great, again, I love that stuff. It's pretty unique, isn't he, Rob Zombie, in the way the kind of rhymes he comes out with. It's powerful.
It's funny, like that song More Human Than Human was like the biggest hit, right? In the States. And that song has actually been in more movies than any movie, like soundtrack wise.
Really?
It broke a record. Apparently, it's been in so many different movies. Okay. And when we were doing that song, I didn't even think that song was gonna make the record, because it was so like boom, boom. I came up with the drum beat, and like I just did it like a Barnaby, and on 4-track, whatever, 8-track. And Rob was like, keep playing that. And all of a sudden, then Jay did and then the bass. And then Charlie came in, and it just enhanced everything. And then Rob's vocals, I remember him being in a vocal booth and just watching like old movies. That's how we recorded stuff and get influence. So it was magic. It was at the time, I mean, honestly. And when he directed the video, it's great.
Some qualities that you have, You perhaps don't look back on it the same yourself as an outsider does, but your career is pretty incredible. It really is.
Thank you, man. Honestly, I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed, and I look at the bands I played in. I didn't play any shitty bands, which is
Oh.
kind of cool. No, from Exodus to Testament to White Zombie to Rob Zombie to Helmet to the Cult, right?
It's not bad, is it?
Not bad.
Well, you know,
it's a good run, yeah. And I honestly, and I love everybody, man. You know, it's great.
that's
I
a
just
good
love
thing.
music. I love
It's a
playing.
good thing you've burnt no bridges as you've gone along, have you? You know, I'm
No.
sure wherever you go, they'd open the doors back to you again and say, "Hey, look, you know, here we go."
Yeah, I sent Rob a text last week. His record went #1, the new Rob Zombie record. I'm like, congrats, man. Well deserved, you know, for anybody, man. You know,
because he did call it a day for quite a while, didn't he? I remember.
well, that's the reason. Yeah, he did. And he told me it's like it was raw. That's when I was like, oh shit, I better start playing. So that's when I got to Helmet, like, and I met with Paige Hamilton.
Yeah,
and that was a great opportunity. So it was actually good. It was good timing too, because I needed to change. You know what I mean? It was great with the click tracks and everything, playing live at the big shows.
Sure.
But we just going to Helmet. It was just raw. It's like fucking playing with Paige Hamilton, like all these time signatures, and we became like best friends. And he really, you know, brought a lot out of me as a drummer too.
There's some heavy stuff on that album, wasn't there? Pretty heavy.
We were just talking about Crashing Foreign Cars, which I wrote with Chris Trainer.
Really?
Paige was there. He wrote Chris and I wrote that song. And then Paige came and did the chorus, and he just broke it down on his guitar lessons he's been doing, talking about it. I'm like, well, you better mention it.
So what sort of bands were you, sorry, what sort of gigs were you doing with Helmet at the time? Did you do many gigs with him?
Yeah, we did the big festivals. There's stuff online, like we did Rock and Ring, Rock and Park.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of those. We did like good venues in Europe, throughout Europe, and you know, like 1,000 seaters possibly within the festivals. In the States, we did well. And the best part was I brought Frank Bello in from Anthrax into the band.
Really?
And Frankie and I were in a high school band together.
Right.
So think about the laughter we had on tour. I mean, it was freaking brilliant, man. I mean, it wasn't a day that we didn't laugh. You know, I mean, it was the best times. Like just thinking about being with your best friends and just playing in front of people and just kicking ass, man.
Isn't that
Helmet's kick ass? Helmet is like brutal. I mean, that punches right in the face, man.
Isn't that nuts to think, though? You know, two high school buddies going on to do all this stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we laugh about it.
I don't know whether you studied music in school at all, but your music teacher must be like, Jesus, I did something right here.
That's a whole nother story. No, it wasn't the music teacher. We hated the music teacher.
All right, okay.
She tried to do jazz. And not hate, I hate the word hate, but it's a funny story. Like she would come over and pull my sticks out, and like we're playing like Iron Maiden songs and Judas Priest before, like, you know, recess, and everybody's listening and stuff. Don't you play that? And I went off on the poor lady one time. It's like, no, don't you do that?
Hey, well, she can't say anything, can she? You know, you've done it.
Frankie could tell you the story too. It's pretty funny.
Oh, awesome stuff. And then you get to join the Cult. How did the gig come about for the Cult, John?
Funny story.
Another one.
I was in Testament at the time, and my friend Ron Lafitte was managing the Cult. Ron, I met beforehand. He worked with Megadeth, and we just become friends. And he goes, "Hey man, the Cult's looking for a drummer. This is like they had this song, The Witch. They just did with Rick Rubin, and like they got this cool new thing, and you have the look. You know, it's like that whole like I won't say flannel long hair, but I think you'd be perfect for." I'm like, "Oh, I always loved the Cult. I mean, Charlie and I went to see the Electric Tour.
Oh right, okay.
And I used to wear a Love shirt. You know, it's the funny thing. So anyhow, I was like, at the time, I was crashing at my friend's place. Didn't even have a car or anything. And I'm listening, and I'm like, I got this. You know, I love the car. I got this, right? So I go up for the audition that day. My friend drives me in this shitty car, and it was hot as hell in LA, I remember. And going to Third Encore Studios and going up and seeing like, hey, I'm here for the Cult audition. Like, well, then they're not here today. They're done. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Ron put me in touch with these guys, and like, I'm here to audition. So my friend left. I have no car. I have no cell phone. I have to find a freaking pay phone, get changed. It's 100-degree weather. Like, what the, it's like, I don't know, those guys are, but you know what? At the end of the day, if I got that gig, I wouldn't have gotten a White Zombie gig. So timing is everything.
Yeah.
So 13 years later, my friend Mike Monterullo worked at TKO, who manages Anthrax now. TKO management, yeah, agency. They book all the bands, which he still has. He goes, "Hey, I'm in touch with the manager. They're looking for a drum." I'm like, "Oh, those guys, you know." But I love the Cult, and I really wasn't doing much. I'm like, "Okay, send me the video. I watch it." I went in there like, not, you know, it's cool. If I get it, I get it. If not, and I just went in there, just did my gig, and went for a second audition. And 15 years later, I've been in the band. So
15 years. I mean, that's
the longest lasting guy, man.
Yeah, because let's be honest, the Cult have a great history of great drummers as well. You know, every drummer.
Oh, Mickey Curry was just on my friend's podcast the other day. I watched the whole thing. I'm like, "Hey, Mickey," and like, you know, I love, and Matt's a friend of mine. Saw him, and Mark Bazicki's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
So I mean, Mark always comes to the shows and where we play, and I have him sit in my drum kit. So it's fascinating, man.
You know, the only time I've ever seen the Cult live was on the ceremony tour with the late great Michael Lee.
That's another one. And I hung out with Michael before. Great drummer. I seen him play in South America. I was a White Zombie at the time. We did the big festival down there.
Sure.
But the day before we got there, Page and Plant were playing, and with the, you know, the orchestra and everything.
Yeah, sure.
I actually have it on high 8. I still have video. I have to transfer this stuff.
Yeah.
Until the guy told me to put the camera down. But I have stuff from the side of the stage filming Michael and the band, man.
Who knows where Michael would have been now, you know, if you know, we hadn't been cut short.
Oh, I seen him play with Thin Lizzy too. And Thin Lizzy is one of my favorite bands of all time. I love Michael. He was so sweetheart, man. It's a shame, man. Great drummer.
Well, on that night, it was the night after, the day after Freddie Mercury had died. And I remember Asprey dedicating, would it have been Edie, I think, to Freddie Mercury. And it was a strange night, but a great gig. And that album, I don't know, do you still play any of the stuff from that album?
Oh, we do. Wonderland and stuff like that. Yeah. White's a great one.
Yeah.
And then Mickey does some great drumming on that. That's Mickey Curry on that record.
Yeah. There's so much.
That's Charlie Drayton plays bass on that record too.
Really?
Yes, he does.
I didn't do that. Right.
Yeah, man. That record grooves, dude. Oh, yeah.
Was he producing as well, or have I got that wrong? Did he do some producing?
Bob Rock? Well, no. It was no, not Bob Rock. It was what's his name? But yeah, that record's really good. Ceremony.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great album.
Spinoza. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah. But there's so much back catalogue, you know, with the Cult. It must be a great fun gig. The stuff is, it must be enjoyable to play.
It is, and you know what? There's always like, and I love the catalog. And it's amazing how many songs I know by the Cult.
Yeah.
Like we did the whole a Love tour. Did the whole record. Yeah. We did the Electric tour. We just did the Sonic Temple. So I pretty much have all the catalogs down, you know. And we played a lot of stuff from Ceremony and the first record as well, Dreamland, you know, Dreamtime. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And Nigel was a great drummer. What a great tribal drummer he was. And I try to keep it like as close to his playing, like especially so bizarre you say this. I had a dream last night. I was playing Spirit Walker.
Hey, that's
Go figure.
That's a good dream.
Dreamtime, see? No, and I try to keep it true. And I remember Ian's brother, Brian, saying like, "Wow, you did it the closest to his playing, Nigel's playing." I'm like, that's a big compliment to me.
That's cool.
You know, you've seen him as a kid, you know what I mean? So that was very nice of him to say.
So is there any plans for the Cult to tour again? I know it's a bit of a who knows when at the moment.
Well, I did talk to our manager last week, so I can't confirm anything, but hopefully by the fall we might have some makeup dates. So fingers crossed. That's all I could say at this point. You know what I mean? Nothing in stone, but let's hope. I mean, things are moving along, and things are opening out here a lot too. So
that's good. And
we hope so.
I'd like to ask you about your signature snare drum. Getting all drummy now. When somebody says, "Would you like a signature snare drum?" How do you go about describing what you want? How does that happen?
Well, for that particular, my snare drum, I knew I wanted the sound of a bell brass, right?
Yeah.
And it's very expensive. I always like 7 snare drums. I used to play 8, but 6.5, I like 7. And I did my research, and I always liked the look of split lug, like Gretsch back in the 70s, or Radio King.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's do a 2mm. We did some prototypes. We did 2.5, but we went with a 2. And I like the black brush. And then the split, the strainer. And I think it's an incredible drum, man. And a lot of drummers are using it. Like a lot of my friends, it's like, shit, man. Bill Ward plays my snare drum.
Really?
Ron from Mastodon, like, yeah, the guy from Fish, the drummer from King Diamond, like, it blows my mind, man. It really feels good. It was a great drum with Tama, man. You know, we took our time with it. I had the prototype, and but I love the look of the split lug. We talked about doing a single lug, like, no.
Yeah,
I was very like,
when you get the prototype, is there can you make tweaks to it if you'd say, oh, I want it to be a bit more this, or I want a different hoop? Is it just good out the box straight away, and you're like,
out of the box, straight out of the box? If you get my snare drum out of the box, it sounds incredible. Like my friend, I set to my snare drum, and like 10 years ago, he's still playing the same head on. It's like, wow. And honestly, that drum holds up, man. I'm not just saying it, but yeah. But I'm very proud of it. And and I just loved it. And my brother designed the badge at JT. We talked about like, I want something like a racing like car thing, like JT, right? Sure. And like my brother just did it, and that was it. And I wanted it in Coca-Cola red, really bright red, because I loved the Premier badges back in the day.
Yeah,
I had a Premier, and I wanted to stick out like a Premier drum, and that's the reason why too. And I love Premier drums, by the way.
I'm a Premier fanatic as well. So that's
yes. Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
But hey, look, John, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
It's been fascinating talking. You've had an incredible career, and I'm finally, and I have to admit on camera, I have pestered you for some time for this. So thank you for finally giving in.
And I'm sorry, like, just times are crazy.
You're a busy
but you know what? This actually worked out. I'm really happy to do this interview with you.
Well,
man.
Thank you. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure everyone who watches this is going to really enjoy it as well. So,
all right, you guys be good out there. Hope to see you soon, man. Thanks,
Take care.
Maddie.
Thanks, John. Take care, mate.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
Bye.